Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. All right, before we start this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, I want to say thank you to everyone that is watching the show and sharing the show. And if you are new here to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie channel, please subscribe to the show on YouTube. I noticed that the statistics are up for the people that aren't subscribers that watch the show, which is wonderful, but it would be nice if you subscribe to the channel. So if you do that, that would be greatly appreciated. We're glad you guys are here. We'll talk to you soon. All right, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today we are in the home state of Massachusetts. I am in Rehoboth, and I am with Bill Dalpe. Bill Dalpe is riding shotgun.
Truly have a shotgun.
Truly riding shotgun.
Cardboard.
Right, it's a cardboard shotgun.
So has anyone brought a shotgun?
So, yes. See how much he watches this show?
I watch it.
I was in New Jersey, of all places. I had Dan Gerdovich, who was he's the former president of the Coalition of New Jersey Firearm Owners.
Yeah.
We went hunting, and we did some bird hunting, and he had a shotgun while we were on the bird property.
All right, so that was my next question.
Yeah, on the preserve. Once we were leaving, we were like, ditch the shotgun.
Yeah.
I had Claude Warner bring an airsoft MP5.
Nice.
That had zombie green on it. And I had Mike Piwarski from Arms Room Radio. He brought a Mossberg Serbu. It was probably this big.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
We were in Florida for that. So.
Nice. Well, that's the gunshine state.
It is the gunshine state. Yeah. So not only are you riding shotgun, we've got somebody in the back.
Yeah, we got Fred back there kind of looking over us. Yes, right. Fred from Target Nation.
From Target Nation. We're gonna talk about him as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. You've got a great little thing going on here.
I appreciate that.
You got a facility down in Rehoboth. You got a classroom that holds, I don't know, 15 people. You get classes on a regular basis.
Yes, sir.
You're you're on the Gold Board of Directors?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I don't really share that stuff, but yeah, I'm proud to be on the Gold Board of Directors, right?
That's
Gold
awesome.
is the premier 2A advocacy group in Massachusetts. So if you're listening to this and you're a masshole like us, right? That's what they call us, Charlie.
We are
you should absolutely be a member of Gold. Yeah.
Sometimes I drop the M.
So you know what? Yeah, people do drop the M when they
Yes, they do.
I wonder why.
Oh man!
So this is a typical New England summer day.
It is. It's going to be 90 later today, so we're trying to get a jump start on beating the heat.
Yep.
And I don't know, what's the humidity level? Like 73% or something crazy.
Yeah. Sorry.
Dying. Yeah. Hey, that's for you.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
You know, these guys that think they're pros, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. That's all right. So how did you get into? How did you become a gun guy? How did you start Patriot? Like where did all of this start?
Yeah. So like a lot of stories of people, started getting into guns at some point. Went to the range, and I've always loved to share information. Like no matter what I do, like to share that information. And had a couple friends at the range and their friends, and I would just give them pointers. No, don't do it that way. Do it this way. Do it that way. And then it was a friend of a friend said, you know what, you are really good, really made my head swell, like you're really good at it. Well, kinda, it empowered me.
Yeah.
Her statement, and her statement was, are you a certified instructor? And I'm like, and I laughed, I'm like, no. And that really started it. That woman empowered me. So then I started looking into how do you become an instructor, and did all that. Haven't looked back since. We do all the NRA stuff, USCCA, also training counselor there. Because that was something, as I took classes as a student, you know, I think we all do this. We kind of say, well, I won't do that in my classes, or I'll do that in my classes. But before I became like a training counselor, you know, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
But then when I knew what I knew, I'm like, wow. Like, there's definitely a way to do it and a way not to do it. You know?
Sure.
So,
absolutely.
And yeah, so we offer it all, from licensing classes to, you know, defensive classes. We offer that in the USCCA, Defensive Shooting Fundamentals 1 and 2. But, you know, and if I'm rambling here, just stop me. But a lot of people, they get their gun license. And in Massachusetts, you don't have to shoot, right?
Right. Which, to me, that's... I've talked to a lot of people that have reached out to me, and they're like, oh, well, so-and-so said I had to shoot. I'm like, yeah, you don't.
The way we do it is, we strongly suggest, because live fire is included in all our licensing class. So
nice.
We encourage you to shoot. We strongly encourage you to shoot, even if it's just a 22. But, yeah, you don't have to. So,
you don't have to, yeah. And that's... yeah, it's interesting when people say, oh, so-and-so did the class, and you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They did live fire, and the chief said they had to do it. I'm like,
well, that's what we're up against in Massachusetts, right? Chiefs put on their own, I mean, yeah, their own nonsense, their own hoops that people have to jump through. There's no uniformity. That's the battle in Mass.
There's the list of classes, and some of them have shooting, some of them don't. Yeah. I always tell people, if the chief of police wants you to learn how to ride a unicycle and juggle, you've got to learn how to ride a unicycle and juggle. You know, which
isn't a bad thing to learn, right? You see the life of the party. I mean, you know,
right?
And riding a unicycle, you know, with an AR, that
would be pretty impressive.
That may be fun. Yeah. But, so, you know, people go right to the gun and learn. I'm like, look, there's a lot of real estate, you know, from when you get your license to when you're learning those physical skills to be efficient and effective with a firearm. Let's learn how to avoid those situations, right? And let's learn what happens when that bullet does come out of that muzzle. What could happen? The legal ramifications, the financial, you know, yeah, so we have a class called Before You Carry and Defend, where we really address all that information. We include some of the USCCA content there too. And that's really a class we promote as the most important class you'll take, because that's where you're getting that mental mindset, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you've probably seen this too. You see plenty of people that are not gun folks. They want to become gun folks, and the first thing they want to do is start carrying everywhere they go, and you're like, yeah, there's a few steps to get there before that. Like, let's learn how to be safe, and let's learn some fundamentals of shooting, and then let's get to the point where you're comfortable with all that, and you can shoot pretty proficiently, and then, oh, by the way, there's all this legal stuff you need to know too. Right.
And that fits into, like, we hear firearm safety, firearm safety, firearm safety. Well, safety is one aspect of firearm responsibility, and that's where that fits in. You know, and just what you said, you know, people can get their license, strap on a gun, and go out and carry without any other training, right? That, to me, that's that responsibility. I'm going to take a left here. All right. The responsibility aspect of it. Even simple things like how you store it, how you stage it. You know, I mean, you hear stories all the time of people accessing firearms when they shouldn't be, right?
Right. Yeah, it's a little nuts. How did you pick Patriot Firearms? Is it because we're here in New England?
Yeah, a lot of people think that, because of the New England Patriots.
Right.
No, it wasn't that. It was like, what does a patriot mean? Like, being a patriot, and that was more. It was more that aspect of it. Yeah, it was more that aspect of it, and it wasn't out there. I searched the name. There was one that was close, but not that. So I scooped that name up.
That's cool. That's really cool. I mean, I always think, you know, when you think of New England, you think of not the Patriots football, but you think of all the Revolutionary War stuff.
Yeah.
So I would, not that you couldn't be in the Midwest and have a Patriot Firearms School, but it just doesn't seem to be a likely name for somebody in the Midwest.
Yeah, it means a little more out here, maybe, I guess, because of the rich history we have right in our own state. This is where it all began, right? The Second Amendment was very, very useful back in the day.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, there's a book. I'm always reading books. Like, I always have 1 or 2 books going. I just finished up Gunfight. The book Gunfight.
Okay.
I can't remember the author's name. I think his last name's Sweeney. Worth the read. Kind of gives the history of the Second Amendment. You know, it's pretty interesting. Although, you know, given the latest SCOTUS, you know, determination, he's gonna have to, you know, make a book too.
Right. An update.
Yeah. But that debate, whether it was a militia or an individual right has been since go. Like since the beginning, that's been the argument. Yeah, and we actually got the Second Amendment from Old English law. That's one of the yeah. That's where it came from. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, there's a whole history and story behind that, which I find fascinating. Read the book, and you can find all that out. Yeah.
Nice, cool. We'll put an image in there and find out who wrote it. Put the information out there. That's cool. So how you're not? I think Patriot Firearms School is more, even though it's part-time, it seems to be a lot less part-time, a lot closer to full-time.
Well, it's like full-time. Yeah, it's full-time.
Okay, because I see pictures of you on social media with classes. I'm going to say every weekend, and you do classes during the week, and you've got people on the range on the weekends, and I see all these people you're with. I'm like, oh my God, man, I'm a little bit jelly. Yeah,
but so it's a passion for sure, and so right now, I don't draw a paycheck from Patriot. I think I talked to you about this earlier. I don't. I just, it's kind of like when I was in the band days. You play for beer. So I teach for guns and ammo, right? That's my pay.
So when you play for beer, the more you drink, the more you make. All right, what are we doing here?
Oh, left, sorry. And then a quick right. Yeah, it's kind of like one of those.
Yeah, so the more you drink, if you're playing for beer, the more you drink, the more you make. Yeah. So I'm just throwing that out there from my gigging days.
Yeah. I don't miss those days. I don't regret them, but I don't miss them. All the gear, schlepping the gear, being out till,
It's not the glamorous life that I thought it would be.
No.
Let's put it that way. I miss it. I miss, my daughter asked me a couple nights ago, we were watching some movie, and it was, whatever, and she's like, so do you miss performing and playing out? I'm like, oh my God, girl, I totally miss it. I miss having the camaraderie with a group of guys. I miss being out. I miss the feeling of being, and maybe it was just, being in my late 20s, but I had that invincible feeling where, hey man, this is what it's about. And we used to go places and people would let us in because we were the band. And
how old were you?
I was in my late 20s.
Yeah, so let's not mislead any of the listeners. It was about the chicks.
It was about the chicks.
Yes.
All right.
I mean, don't. I mean, that's why I got in it.
Look, I was more about drinking beer. So I used to. These are the glory days. Legit, were to get ready for gigging. Hit the shower, have a beer in the shower.
In the shower. Wow. Yeah. Dedicated to your craft. Wow.
Oh, absolutely.
I can honestly say I never
had a beer in the shower.
No, I don't drink beer anyway. But
well, all right. It's hard to have a rocks glass in the shower.
Drink it neat, proof it with the.
Oh man. So I used to have a beer in the shower and then get out and get dressed and have another beer and go pick up one of the guys and pick the guy because he didn't have a car and head to the gig, take our stuff out, have a beer, play the first set, have a beer, play the next set, have a beer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Remember the days well. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep.
So so teaching the classes.
Yeah, so it is full-time. Like, if I could teach every day, I will, but you're not going to get students to fill a class already. So I have a nice classroom. You just seen it. Beautiful. Little gun shop out front. Jeff Patello runs the gun shop, MTS Guns and Ammo. Little shout-out to him. And we have a great symbiotic relationship, but we don't have a range back there, right? So there's no flow, right? So you can't, buy your gun or go to a class and then go shoot in the same facility. So it's but it is what it is. We do teach a lot of students. We offer great quality training. We are in the nebulous stages of a phase 2 of this little symbiotic relationship, but a little too early to say anything.
Right.
But but right now you'll see the range. It's a great range. It's on a friend's property. Private. You got to take a class. It's not open to the public. And
cool.
That's where I do 90% of my live fire. Yeah.
Do you the police in the town know that you're shooting that,
so
right?
that's they do. We still have to call it in.
Call and let them know.
But I won't mention the city just in case, whatever. But we had a problem the end of last year. You got to kind of go in the left lane and then go straight.
Okay.
And then it's about a quarter mile up on the right. I'll tell you. They gave us a hard time. It's the DSF classes. It's all day of volume of fire. I had a DSF 1, DSF 2, 2 days in a row. Defensive Shooting Fundamentals. Okay. Oh, that's a USCCA.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, I just want to make sure.
Great program. Absolutely great program. And so it's an all-day volume of fire, and we got called on, and long story short, they shut us down for a day. And then come this year in spring, and they were fine with it. They just said, you got to call in. And they sent the proprietor of the, I don't want to mention his name because there's a lot of reasons for that, a letter saying, do you mind not shooting on Sundays? And he was all pissed off, and I'm like, dude, that's great. That means they recognize us as a legit range, which it is a legit range. Like, it's right. Registered, we did everything I do, all the paperwork and insurances. And so I'm like, no, that's a great thing. So we haven't not had one. I think he's had one call all this year. So we're gonna walk down. Is that all right? Yeah. So just park like right here.
Dude, so this is like behind the guy's house. Yeah,
this is a friend of mine's house. Yeah, won't mention his name, but
cool.
Yeah. And I last February, well, a year and a half ago, I'm like, dude, we gotta make this. So you want me to tell you the story how this became a thing?
Let's do it.
So I hooked this guy up big time with a class. Like, long story short, I gave him a one-on-one. It was all day, blah, blah, blah. And again, we're not all about the money. And he calls me 2 months later, he goes, I built a range for you. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, cool, all right. Yeah.
Right.
Because he is a little eccentric. 4 months later, Bill, I built a range for you. Come check it out. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna come right now. How's that? Cool. Come down. It's a little plowed out, or you know, the woods is kind of scraped out, and there's a little berm there. And I'm like, I'm like, you got this cleared through the state? They're, oh yeah. I'm like, I tell you what, let me take licensing classes here, right? Just to toe dip into it. That worked out pretty good. I said, dude, can we make this a real range? He goes, yep, I can't afford it. I'm like, Patriot will get it. And what you're gonna see here, I made it into a range.
Wow.
Yeah. So
right, let's go check it out and get some pictures.
Cool. Sounds
all right,
good.
Cool.
So the dream now, is to find property, build a huge space building, because for the money, that's about, you know, that's about the cheapest thing you can throw up.
Yeah.
And put a big pro shop, multiple classrooms, some hand-to-hand area, and then an outdoor range out back. 2 ranges, one for members, one for classes.
That's awesome.
And other instructors.
Right.
That's a passion of mine, is that, like, I have a very huge soft spot for new instructors. I remember what it was like when I first, you know, became an instructor. First of all, no range wants any part of you. You hear things from liability to, we already have an instructor.
Oh my God.
You can't use the range, you can't make money off the range, but I'm giving you money to use it. Right. Doesn't matter.
We're bringing in people here.
So that was, but I was adamant. Like, back then, I had a, what's that?
No, we're not taking this route, are we?
No. Okay. Little different mindset, saying you got to do live fire. Like, way back, because that's all I taught was the basics of pistol shooting. And so it was important for me to find a range. So I would leverage Mansfield, but it's a big pain in the butt, scheduling that. And, so
yeah, it is.
So to finish that thought off, my classroom is open to any instructor. Everything's there. The training aids, the coffee, the water, the computer, right? It's all right there. You know, and at the beginning, new instructors don't pay a dime. Just come in and use it. You know, usually they give me a little bit, you know, just to be nice, but they don't have to. And then after that, there's a rental fee, you know, for a day or half day. So,
gotcha. Cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you became an NRA instructor and a USCCA instructor, and then you decided to become a training counselor.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about that.
It's just so I mean, I'm not, look, let me preface this by saying I don't think I'm all, you know, all that, but I've been exposed to a multitude of shitty instructors, just to put it quite bluntly. And I'm like, you know, becoming a training counselor, I have some influence on that. Like, I have definitely the do's and don'ts. I've been there, done that, And not only that, I take my role as a training counselor extremely seriously. Like, I try not to lose touch with any of the instructors.
Well, that's cool.
You know, just any way I can help. And most of them, like, don't. Some of them go overboard and want, you know, a lot of help, which is fine. You know, that's my job. See, that's the thing. A training and a program is only as strong as its instructors and training counselors, right? I mean, that the boots on the ground. And I take that role, you know, and I like that role. I like that role of mentoring instructors. It's something I love to do. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know for many of them. I just scheduled a USCCA one for beginning of September. So maybe from each organization, maybe 2 a year. You know, I offer.
That's cool. The difference between the NRA and the USCCA classes. This is something that always intrigues me, right? Because the NRA classes are the ones that we need in order to get a license to carry or an FID card here in Massachusetts.
Right.
But I think the USCCA classes are better. Unfortunately, I'm one of those chumps that doesn't offer them because I've seen that people get their license and then they're good. And then part of me thinks that I'm failing on my job as an instructor because they're not taking more classes and they're not continuing their education, even though they really should. I do think, and I've heard a lot of people say this, that when states have a minimum training, that's usually the maximum that people take. And when there is, in the constitutional carry or the permitless carry states, people seek out more training. You know, because like when Texas decided to do that earlier this year, to go to permitless carry, all right, they
and then a right after.
Quick right, there were some instructors that were out there. They're like, hey, they're going to cut into our income and blah, 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 blah. And a lot of people I know were like, dude, you need to up your instructing then.
So I don't even think you should have to take a class to exercise your Second Amendment.
Amen.
That to me is so unconstitutional. And again, that falls into that responsibility thing. So yeah, I want to get a gun. I'm a permitless carry. I don't need a permit. I get my first gun. You know what? It's on you to learn how to shoot it properly. And it's on you, if you want to use it for defensive context, to learn everything you need to know. Which leads me to that statement you said, trying to get butts and seats for subsequent classes. That's always a challenge for all of us, but I sell like my next step. So the way I promote Patriot, and it's true, it's a stepped process if you choose to take it.
Right.
You can just get your license, I never see you again, that's fine, but I really pitch heavily the before you carry and defend class. Like I tell them if I could give it away for free, I would. That's how important it is. I really stress that importance for that next step because, you know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, if I would have asked a class, who wants a firearm for home defense or self-defense purposes, maybe 40% of people would raise their hand.
Really?
Maybe. Now, it's like 95%.
Wow.
Yeah. And the increase in women over the years just warms my heart. Like, absolutely warms my heart. Because I was the guy 20 years ago sitting in a club saying, where's all the women?
Right.
And you get, ho, 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 ho. I'm like, what's so funny?
Right.
Like, traditionally speaking, Charlie, right? Traditionally speaking, who is with the kids more?
Women are with the kids more. They're at home.
Right.
They're out taking the kids shopping and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, you know, so all these groups, you know, that are coming on, like the Patriots are proud supporter of the Armed Women of America, Carrie Ann O'Clair and Renee Gagnon. I really can't do enough for them. It warms my heart. It really does.
Yeah, I've had Carrie on the show. I haven't had Renee yet.
Yeah, great gals, great firecrackers. Yeah, they're just great people. Yeah, very proud to call them my friends. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right, we got a couple more things we want to talk about.
All right,
tell us about
the book.
Your book.
Yeah. So, you want to hear the genesis story of that? All right.
Absolutely.
I forget what year. 6 years ago, whatever. In my sleepy town of Rehoboth, Mass, population like 13,000. There was a young boy who was, well, we'll just call the general term abducted. 15 years old.
15?
I'm like, what? So looking in a little more, I had to do with drugs. He was lured in with drugs, and I mean, he came out okay, you know, but which is, thank God. But that bothered me, like to my core.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, let me approach the school system. Now, at that time, I didn't have my own program for that. So I leveraged refuse to be a victim. So I brought student packets, I brought the promotional packets.
Yep.
I met with the superintendent and the assistant superintendent of schools. We sit down, and the superintendent, as I'm describing what it's all about, and I say not everything's going to be appropriate for every age, and
sure, there's a lot of good stuff in the Refuse to Be a Victim program.
There is, and it's the low-hanging fruit of situational awareness. So kids, that's the first step. And he was getting excited. Oh, we're going to include this in our criminal justice program. And I'm getting excited. I'm like, this is great. I said, look, right now this is all pro bono. Like, this is my giving back to the community. I know I can get the packets, for probably nothing from the NRA, blah, blah, blah. And so he's getting excited. I'm getting excited. I'm already ticking, like, how we can break this up in assemblies. And because I don't want, you want smaller groups to teach that. If you do it for 200 kids, really no learning is going to take place. There's going to be a lot of kids sticking around, So the assistant superintendent is sitting there, and she turns over the promotional pamphlet. Tell me what she sees.
NRA. National Rifle Association.
She goes, just like that, I'll never forget. She goes, ooh, NRA. She goes, I don't think the parents will like this. And I'm like, oh no, they will. I'm like, we're teaching the kids like
them how to be safe, right?
Yeah.
How to keep the house safe, how to pay attention.
She goes, I don't think this program's for us. So I'm like saying, okay, lady, and I turn my gaze to the superintendent, and he pushes the student packet to me. And I'm like if you could have caught my eyes, bright-eyed and like jawed down, I'm like,
right.
Kept my composure, said, look, just read it over, we'll reach out next week. I was in the parking lot, Charlie, with tears coming down my face, and my hands were shaking out of anger. I was enraged. That fueled the writing of this book. I did not stop. That fueled it. Yeah. And I don't mention gun in there. So for a reason, I wanted to get in the schools at that time. Now I have a different outlook, and I am working on book 2 that will absolutely include that and many, much more things.
Yep. So your book, After the Bell,
After the Bell Rings.
After the Bell Rings, sorry.
Giving kids the tools they need to stay safe.
I'm not going to remember that much. Come on. I couldn't even remember After the Bell. Rings. So what it really does is it points out the Jeff Cooper's color code, and then you do the trust ring, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, so kind of spinning off Jeff Cooper and color codes awareness. Now, so I'll just leave that there. So this trust ring and the levels of trust they can put to people, right? You hear about the stranger danger and being rude to strangers. No, you don't want to be rude, but there's a certain protocol you want to follow or not follow, right? So that book gets into all that stuff, And again, the trust ring is more for, 11, 12, 10, 11, 12, and even 8, depending on maturity, right? Sure.
So the sweet spot for this book is like 12 or 13. That's the sweet spot. Beyond that, we teach other curriculum, and that's what the next book is based on. Beyond that, where we get into topics, other awareness topics,
So
and methodologies.
In the book, you talk about the color code, you talk about the trust ring, and then you go through, I don't know, like 12 different scenarios.
Yeah, at least that.
Were these real scenarios that happened?
No, a lot of these were made up.
Hey, listen.
Yeah, some of these are probably Frankenstein ones. No, most of it comes from just me.
Okay.
Yeah, they're my stories. Like, I didn't, there's no plagiarizing there. They're all come from my head. But they could have been based on some stories that I've read.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how much was made up and how much was
taken
from the.
None of it was taken from a true story.
Inspired by the real story. Or something.
No. Yeah. I probably could have done that. Maybe in the next book I'll do that. Yeah. But the whole premise of this book, the intent was for parents to get it, parents to read it. I can't tell you how many parents have read that and said, I learned something. I'm like, good.
Yeah.
And then sit down with Johnny or Sally and say, okay, read these pages, and then let's discuss it as a family. So it's always meant to be in that structure where the parent is really the teacher, and it's through this book. Yeah. And then they can apply it to their own lives. Like, one thing we talk about is relatives. Can you trust, Uncle Bob? Well, in some families you can, They'd be on the inner circle, but some families you can't.
Not so much.
Yeah, so it's up to parents to have that discussion with their child. And so the next book is going to be more geared towards people who want to teach the program. There'll be pins, there'll be certificates, so that's
cool.
Yeah, and to empower, religious education teachers, coaches, schools, scout groups to, kind of buy the kit and spread the word.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, I'm looking forward to that.
And it's a passion of mine. Again, if I could do all this stuff, like if I won Powerball, like all this would be free. Like, honest to God.
Well, it's interesting because if I won Powerball, you'd never hear from me again.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't do it from a nice Caribbean island, but,
Right. Charlie, we haven't seen him around for a while. Yeah, he won the lottery and disappeared.
Then you'd be cruising in a boat with Charlie.
That's right.
Yeah.
Living the Jimmy Buffett lifestyle.
There you go.
All right, tell us about Fred in the back seat.
Fred's an interesting cat. He's a 3D target backer, pretty much. And he's so versatile. It's targetnation.com if you're interested in checking us out.
Yeah, we'll put a link.
So, we've been trained to shoot paper. And they do have 3D systems out there, but they're big money, they're heavy. This is made of cardboard. You can assemble it like that. As you can see, you can accessorize it and make it look, and good for simulations as well. Or a target backer. So it's so versatile. You can make it so it opens up like a door and put your own target there and close it back up. Mm-hmm. But it gives you this 3D volumetric torso, which is so realistic to train that way, right? So in Fred, we're teaching the concepts.
You have more time?
Yeah, teaching the concepts of shooting center of exposure rather than center of mass. You get a flat paper. We train people to shoot high center chest. That's the quickest way to stop the threat. And if you're off angle, you're not shooting for high center chest. You're shooting for that portion of the person or the attacker that's centered to you. So that's that center of exposure, and that's what that teaches. And you can see the bullet trajectory through this 3D volumetric system. So something that traditionally on a 2D target you would train, you say, okay, that's a hit. Mm-hmm. Well, it may be a hit on that flat piece of paper, but let's look at the trajectory through a simulated torso, and you'll just find out, it didn't hit the heart, the lung, the spinal cord. So
yeah, and you've got targets with.
Yeah, we call it the Vitals, Vital Impact Card. Yep, it has the heart and lungs on it, and it's free and downloadable from our website. You just stick it in the back.
Yep.
And and for scenario training, like the UTM or Sims or anything like that, you dress those up, and it can come with an accessory card. That's where the shotgun comes from, right? It has knives, machetes, high point, a Glock, but it comes with a badge, a soda bottle, a phone. So quickly you can change scenarios up by what accessory you put on.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when we teach defensive classes, we want people to think on a range. And that can definitely deliver that for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. For sure. That's cool. Yeah. You can set up your good guys and bad guys. And
and it sets up like this. It just sets up really quickly.
Yeah, so the chest folds out?
Yeah, so you roll it up and go to targetnation.com. On the resources, you'll see how to do it. You may recognize the person doing the instructional videos. But yeah, it rolls up, and if you want, I can show you later. It's really simple. It's really simple.
Cool.
And I remember a class I taught, and we're doing the bounce, speed, and precision target all day. At the end of the day, we did scenario, and I had them leave the range. I would just went up top, and I set up a bunch of Freds. And they didn't see it, and they come down. I'm like, okay, set them up with the scenario, go. And they didn't know how to approach it. They were completely dumbfounded, right?
Right.
Because now, instead of seeing a flat paper, they're seeing something that resembles a human, which is a little different, right? Psychologically,
yes.
And where do I hit it? I don't see that square box.
Right.
Well, that's knowing your anatomy, right? Like hunters. Hunters need to know the anatomy in a 3D volumetric way to hunt, to bring down that game.
Right.
Not saying humans a game, but you need to know where that anatomy is.
I mean, how many, we have the anti-gun folks and the non-gun folks that think, well, if somebody somebody gets shot, they're going to die. And then you hear stories where, you know, there was a gunfight, whatever, a shootout with the police, whatever, a gang fight, and somebody was shot 4 times and lived.
Right.
Well, they didn't shoot him in important spots.
Right, you know? That's right.
So it's, and shooting at human-looking targets is certainly a new experience, because we spend so much time looking at people and saying, hey, listen, we don't point a gun at somebody, we don't shoot people, we hammer this home, and then all of a sudden, all right, well, we get to a certain level, and now you're taking a defensive class. All right, now we're shooting.
It's all in context.
Yeah,
right? You're teaching a NRA basics class. So yeah, you're right. The always rules is, if I can plug John Petrolino and his book.
Yeah, of course.
That Decoding Firearms. I'm about a third of the way through it.
Excellent.
I cannot wait to stop promoting that book. It's really good. But anyway, he calls them the always rules. But yeah, so there's different rules when engaging in the 3D world. Yeah.
Right.
And the benefit to this, to me, it's a little bit. So we're at SHOT Show this year. Tremendous feedback, right? The problem is people are comparing this to like a B2 target. You know, this is $7 and I can get this for a nickel. Yeah, well, it's not apples and oranges.
Right.
But what you can do is you can take that B2 target, fold it up, and use that as a backer. Just fold your target up, put it in back where the vitals are, and now you get this 3D volumetric target. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, we're working on we're going to be ramping things up again now.
Nice.
Summer into fall. Yeah, really excited about it. It to me, this is going to be the standard before long, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah,
that would be really cool.
Yeah.
What are some of the, you have a lot of stuff going on.
I got the podcast I started.
Oh yes, I didn't know if that was something you wanted to bring up.
I'll bring it up, of course. How should I start this? So, in all my classes, I mentioned suicide by firearm. We had a family member take their lives with a firearm. We've known people who have taken their lives. And that, to me, it moves me to tears to think that these young people, when they're, or not just young people, right, sorting the chips of life, like, put that on the table as a viable thing. That absolutely breaks my heart. Not to get into red flag laws and things like that, but for gun people, it's a little more difficult, right? Right. So, and to me, there's a long breadth of real estate between having an issue and then thinking suicide's an option, right? There's a lot of real estate in there, and to me, that's kind of where this podcast fits in. You know, I've had this podcast on my mind for literally 2 years, and you know, where I got inspired every week is I went to church, right? I felt it in my heart, like, you got to do this, and I'd be like, no, I don't have enough time. Like, I already do a shit ton of stuff.
Oh yeah, by the way, I have a regular job too.
Yeah, right. Where am I gonna find the time?
Yeah.
And then finally, you know, I gathered the equipment slowly. Ask Garrett Holcomb. He knows half my story. You know, trying to get started, and finally one day, you know, Joey's making an excuse. Well, I don't have the right camera. I don't have it. And finally I just said, screw it, I'm going to do it. You know?
Nice.
And to me, it meets that area. So whether, and it's not just, the subject matter is anything in life. None of us has our shit completely together. I don't care who you talk to. We all deal with something, right? It's in my case, personally, my son Alexander, he just turned 17 last week. He has Dravet syndrome. So me and my wife are lifelong caregivers for Alex. Yeah. That comes with a lot of stuff, right? So I share some of my story. Doesn't matter. In it, I think there's value in that. If someone can hear someone's point of view, and that we learn best by storytelling. Yeah. So if someone's talking about how difficult this subject is, dealing with being a lifelong caregiver for a child, and they hear it and they say, wow, that's how that person thinks of it, or that's how they got around this or got help with this, I'm going to try that, right? Yeah. So that's the whole message of it. You know, and that's why I call it matter of perspective, because all life is a matter of perspective, right? Think of Christmas time, right? You could have all the world's problems, but near Christmas time, like, there's extra joy, there's extra, right? You get that energy, that positive energy, that you change your perspective for that day. So So people need to work hard, in my opinion, at changing their perspective of life. And if they can hear a story or some advice that rings with them, then to me, you know, it's all worth it. You know, one thing about this podcast, and I swore to myself, it's not, there's no pressure, there's no stress. The episodes come out when they come out.
Yeah.
But I am finding that a lot of people who said they wanted to share their story, when they really have to do it, are like,
when the mic warms up, and the red light's on, not so much.
Not so much. So, you know, we got some things happening in the background that, you know, changing the set. Like my last episode, I said we're gonna call it a season at 10 episodes, which is low, but we're gonna revamp like the background, and I want to do live call-ins. You know, like for dads, right? Dads is really my target, right? Because the divorce rate for like in our world, the Dravet syndrome world, is through the roof. It's just like 70%, or it's just. But I can see how. I can see why. I can see, you know, how that path can be laid out for divorce, right? Because when you have a kid with any type of need like that, guess who becomes a priority in every way in that relationship? The kid. And then you don't work on the parent stuff, and
you don't work on the marriage, and
so
being a couple and everything.
But that's what it's all about. People to share their story, and it doesn't have to be anything life-changing. It can be, I changed careers, right? It could be something like that. Something as simple as that. We've, you know, the guests we have on, you know, talked about alcoholism, talked about you know, another caregiver, suicide. I had Mike Sedini from WTTA on. Mike's a great guy.
Yeah.
So to me, there's a lot of benefit in that. You know, but we'll see where it goes. You know, we'll see where it goes. I'm not looking to make money off it. I'm not looking to, but I want to do it right. You know, and that's something that, the video quality has been up and down, right? So. Paid for the high-speed internet, and I'm like, do I need a new modem? They're like, no. I'm like, cool. And then with Mike Sedini, do the whole thing, and the video's like breaking up, and I'm like, oh, Mike must be having some issues, because my video is clear,
right,
for once, right? And no, it was mine. So I call it Comcast. I'm like, what gives? Like, oh no, you need a new router. I'm like, all right. So I just got that in the other day. So
jeez.
So I think I got all that sorted out.
Right. Well, the advice I got when I started doing stuff is that done is better than perfect.
Yeah, you got to do it. Yeah, I agree. I agree. But at the same time,
you want it to look. You want it to look good. You want it to sound good.
When I look like Max Headroom on there, it bothers me. It does. But I'm leaving it. And like I told my buddies, I'm like, I'm gonna look back at this a year from now and cringe.
Totally. Yes, I did a speech at AmCon a couple years ago in Phoenix, and it was getting through. I called it getting through hurdles and new platforms. And so I went out and did two new things that year. I went out and did stand-up comedy, and I went out and learned how to ride a motorcycle.
You know what? I heard about that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what you heard, but it's probably not true.
My buddy used to do stand-up comedy. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, but it was. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to buck up and do it anyway.
Good for you.
The gist of the whole thing with the whole speech is, no matter how perfect you want it to be, no matter how good it is, no matter how this was awesome, the first few times you do it, it's going to suck. Yeah. And you're going to learn from that. You're going to make it better, and you're going to make it better. And I've learned from all of the stuff that I've done, you know, about with the cameras and the editing and everything else. There's still plenty for me to learn, but you know, it's a process.
You got to do it. You got to show up, right? Yeah, that's half the battle right there. Showing up and doing it.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll have to come see one of your comedy shows.
Well, it's been a while. I haven't done any since the end of the pandemic. But pre-pandemic, I'll send you some videos.
Do it.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Do it. I want to see it. Yeah, I got another buddy here that does stand-up.
So here's the deal. I've got a lot of stuff going on between my day job and between riding shotgun and being a gun instructor. And I really wanted to have no holds barred with the comedy.
Yeah.
So I started using a different name.
Nice. Good.
Like a guy with one name. That's all I want. I want to go by one name. Whether it's, you know, I want people to be like, oh, do you know Charlie? Have you been on with Charlie?
Is it Shotgun?
It's not. I go by Freeman.
Nice.
Freeman the comedian. I got an Instagram I call Freeman the comedian.
No shit. I'll have to follow that. Awesome.
It's all the stuff that's completely inappropriate.
No, download.
That I wouldn't say. And
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I get that.
And I don't want too many worlds to collide.
Right.
I have had, this is pretty funny. I was teaching a gun class at a local shooting school a number of years ago. 4 hours and rifle, shotguns, handguns, loading and unloading, all this stuff. And at the end of the class, I said, all right, does anyone have any questions? And there's this teenager in the back. He raised his hand. He said, I used to take trumpet lessons from you.
That's awesome.
How come you weren't this much fun in trumpet class?
That is so cool. First of all, that makes you feel really old. Like the guy who does the marketing, like I told you, for Patriot, I had him in CCD years ago.
Oh my God.
And all these kids that I had in baseball and other activities, scouts, are now taking classes from me. It makes you feel old, but it makes you feel good, right?
Right, it makes you feel like you made an impact.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is good, but
yeah, keep going. Yeah.
All right. So have him say, how come you weren't this? I wanted to say to him, like, did you practice?
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Anyway, all right, we're almost back to the Patriot Firearms School.
HQ.
Back to the HQ. How can people find you and all of the stuff that you got going on?
Yeah, so patriotfirearmschool.com, obviously, for any of Patriot stuff. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. As far as the book goes, that's on Patriot too.
Yep.
Contemplating starting its own page, but well, that's it for now. For the targets, I strongly urge everyone to check out Fred and Target Nation, what we have to offer. It's more than just that. So that's targetnation.com.
Cool.
Yeah, as far as the podcast goes, it's a matter of perspective. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Spotify. So yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah. So I appreciate you having me on, Charlie.
I'm glad.
Yeah, we talked about it for a long time.
For a while.
Yeah.
Yes. I was one of these guys. I know there's another guy in this area of the state that's a gun instructor, and at first I wasn't sure. I don't know if he's the. I was mixed up between you and him.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure which one was which.
Okay.
And then I was able to make the connection between the two. Actually, I don't even know the other. I know his name. I don't know what he calls his biz. But whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I started following him. I'm like, all right, this guy's a local guy. What's his deal? What's his story?
Yeah, cool.
And then we meet, and this is good.
Yeah.
Actually, I took the Before You Carry and Defend.
That's right.
I took that with Mark Lindblom at the Goal headquarters a while ago. So
what'd you think of the class?
I thought it was a great class. It's a little bit of everything, which I thought was really good. So you get the USCCA book, and here's some USCCA information. You had some not necessarily NRA stuff. Yeah, a little bit of law.
No, there's zero NRA stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you included some of John Correa's videos.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those are really educational for people.
They are.
And
they are. Absolutely are.
Yeah, and you can always change those up and keep those going.
And we do. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. Listen, thank you very much.
I appreciate it, Charlie.
Thank you guys for watching the show. Thank you for tuning in and checking out Riding Shotgun with Charlie. We are going to put links for Bill and his cardboard shotgun and for Fred and for his book After the Bell Rings and the Matter Perspective YouTube channel and podcast. You put it out in both forms? Yeah. Awesome, cool. We'll put links for that. Yeah. If you have not joined the Second Amendment Foundation, you can join at saf.org. You can support them also at the CCRBKA, the Committee for the Citizens' Right to Keep and Bear Arms, and check out all of your favorite pro-freedom podcasts on Self-Defense Radio Network, sdrn.us, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks for being here.
Take care. Thanks.